Does the US want to end the Israel-Iran war, or are they enjoying it? Recently, Trump said that Israel should hit Iran's nuclear facilities, but such a statement coming from a man as influential as Trump makes experts fearful of how chaotic the world we are living in has become. But what does Biden have to say? And what will happen if Trump's advice is acted upon? Let's find out. The Israel-Iran conflict is heating up, and naturally, everyone's looking at the West, waiting for a strategy that will calm both parties before things spiral into World War III. But if you're expecting the West to play the pacifist here, think again. What's unfolding is far more complex than peace talks and diplomatic handshakes. The West isn't following any script you'd expect. Instead, they're playing a different game altogether, a high-stakes geopolitical chess match where nothing is ever as it seems. The so-called land of peace negotiations, proxy wars, and nuclear ambitions, where Israel, Iran, and of course, the United States are locked in a never-ending struggle for dominance. At the helm of the US response is President Joe Biden. His strategy? Well, that's still a bit of a mystery, but what's clear is that he's trying to maintain the delicate balance of international diplomacy, oil interests, and Israel's security. Then there's Donald Trump, who always had a much simpler strategy. Bomb first, ask questions later. While Biden seeks to play the peacemaker, Trump, true to form, would rather see swift, decisive action, preferably in the form of airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. And in the midst of this, Israel and Iran are doing what they do best, positioning themselves for the next round of escalations as the world holds its breath. Let's start with Biden's approach. Joe Biden's foreign policy often centers around diplomacy and coalition building. In this case, Biden's call for restraint with Israel isn't just a reflection of a passive approach, but a recognition of the real dangers that come with military escalation. Biden's main argument is that an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities would do more harm than good. It's not about playing soft, it's about understanding the broader implications of such a move. First and foremost, a preemptive strike on Iran would almost certainly trigger a retaliatory spiral that could engulf the entire region in conflict. Iran is not without its military capabilities, and they have allies, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, who could easily launch their attacks against Israel, sparking a regional war. In this situation, the risks far outweigh the benefits, particularly when no one can guarantee that an Israeli airstrike would fully dismantle Iran's nuclear program. Iran has proven itself resilient and resourceful, and there's little doubt it would quickly rebuild any lost infrastructure. Biden's focus is on preventing this escalation and instead seeking solutions that involve international pressure, sanctions, and negotiations. His belief in multilateral efforts reflects the understanding that tackling issues like Iran's nuclear ambitions requires global cooperation, not unilateral military actions. This is why Biden has been a strong proponent of re-engaging with the Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA, which had previously been successful in curbing Iran's nuclear activities before Trump withdrew the US from the agreement in 2018. By reintroducing diplomatic efforts and economic sanctions, Biden is seeking to limit Iran's nuclear capabilities without provoking a devastating conflict. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Africa's geopolitics, economy, and changing landscape. Let's continue now. Furthermore, Biden's approach considers the impact on the global economy. An attack on Iran would almost certainly disrupt oil supplies, sending shockwaves through international markets. This would lead to higher energy prices worldwide, exacerbating inflation and harming everyday consumers, not just in the US but across the globe. A diplomatic solution, on the other hand, helps to maintain stability in energy markets and avoids adding unnecessary economic strain at a time when the world is already dealing with various crises. Now contrast that with Donald Trump's stance. Trump's approach is much more aggressive, urging Israel to strike Iran's nuclear facilities immediately and decisively. At first glance, this might seem like a strong, no-nonsense approach to dealing with a potential nuclear threat. After all, a nuclear-armed Iran would pose a significant danger not only to Israel, but to the entire Middle East. But the problem with Trump's position is that it simplifies a highly complex situation into a binary choice: strike or do nothing. Trump's call for preemptive action ignores the potential fallout from such a decision. While an attack might temporarily set back Iran's nuclear program, it would almost certainly provoke massive retaliation, not just from Iran, but from its network of allies across the region. This could pull Israel into a multi-front war, with rockets and missiles raining down on Israeli cities from Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. The cost of human lives would be staggering. Moreover, Trump's approach overlooks the long-term consequences. Even if Israel were successful in its initial strike, it wouldn't be the end of the story. Iran has spent years building its nuclear program, and it's unlikely they would abandon their ambitions after a single attack. They would rebuild, potentially more determined than ever, and could even accelerate their nuclear efforts in response to the attack. This would lead to an even more dangerous situation down the line. In addition, Trump's stance doesn't take into account the international backlash. A unilateral strike by Israel, particularly one encouraged by the US, would strain relations with key global powers. Countries in Europe, as well as Russia and China, have all played significant roles in previous negotiations with Iran. An Israeli attack, especially one supported by the US, could undermine future diplomatic efforts and create further rifts between the West and other global powers. This isn't just a regional issue, it's a global one, and any action taken in the Middle East has far-reaching consequences. So, whose strategy is right? The reality is that diplomacy remains the best tool for managing the Israel-Iran conflict. It's not perfect, and it's certainly not quick, but diplomacy offers a path to de-escalation that military action simply can't provide. Biden's cautious approach recognizes that Israel's security can't be guaranteed by a single airstrike or military operation. Instead, it requires sustained international efforts to limit Iran's nuclear ambitions while maintaining stability in the region. While Trump's rhetoric may appeal to those who want immediate action, it's important to remember that military interventions in the Middle East have often led to more chaos, not less. Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya are all reminders of what can go wrong when military action is taken without a clear, long-term strategy for peace. The last thing the world needs is another drawn-out conflict in the Middle East. Biden understands that the road to peace is long and difficult, but it's the only option that avoids unnecessary bloodshed. The focus on diplomacy and sanctions may frustrate those looking for quick fixes, but history has shown that rushing into conflict rarely yields positive results. A calculated, patient approach is the only way to ensure that both Israel's security and global stability are preserved. Ultimately, Biden's restraint isn't about being weak, it's about being wise. It's about recognizing that sometimes the best way to win a conflict is to prevent it from happening in the first place. Biden's diplomatic efforts are aimed at preventing the worst-case scenario, one where Israel and Iran are drawn into a full-scale war that could destabilize the entire Middle East and beyond. The stakes are too high for rash decisions. Trump's approach, while appealing to those who favor strength and assertiveness, is dangerously short-sighted. It prioritizes immediate action over long-term stability and ignores the lessons of history. The idea that a single military strike could solve the Iran problem is naive at best and reckless at worst. A war with Iran wouldn't just be a conflict between two nations, it could ignite a broader regional war, pulling in other countries and creating a humanitarian disaster. By urging restraint and focusing on diplomacy, Biden is working to prevent this catastrophe. His approach may not be as flashy or aggressive as Trump's, but it's grounded in a deeper understanding of the complexities of international relations. Sometimes, the strongest move is the one that avoids unnecessary conflict. And in this case, Biden's call for restraint is the right move for Israel, for the Middle East, and the world. But what will happen if Israel acts on Trump's advice? If Israel acts on Trump's advice and strikes Iran's nuclear facilities, the consequences could be severe and far-reaching. While Trump's approach is to hit hard and fast, the reality of such an action would likely set off a chain of events that could destabilize the entire region and even have global ramifications. A strike on Iran could pull in other countries in the Middle East. Iran's allies, such as Syria and Hezbollah, would likely join the fight against Israel. Additionally, Gulf states like Saudi Arabia, which view Iran as a major threat, might be drawn into the conflict, either directly or indirectly. The U.S., as Israel's primary ally, could also be forced to get involved, leading to an even larger military confrontation. The conflict could easily spread across the Middle East, with attacks on oil facilities, shipping lanes, and military bases. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point for global oil supplies, could become a target, disrupting the flow of oil and potentially driving up global energy prices. This would have a ripple effect, causing economic instability around the world. So, should Israel listen to Trump? What do you expect will happen? Will the situation be in control? Let us know in the comments section. Is this war about to become World War III? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, the economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.